Up until this very episode, those who've been following up the events in here are aware that a man called Professor Wilhelm Gutenberg is the person of interest. He is being watched, just as they had watched Dr. John Taylor at medical school. There has been an ambush set by a certain faction that wants Professor Wilhelm Gutenberg dead before the STM, that is the Shrine Tango movement, inducts him to spearhead mission G.Prof. But then Dr. John Taylor kills the sniper shooter with whom, of course, we have come to get acquainted and who went by the name John Silverstein. And for the record, Avi Amanda, who appears to be a double agent, confirms to Dr. John Taylor that Silverstein is indeed a household name at Humboldt University in Berlin. But then the arrival of John Taylor and compatriots in Munich City evokes terrible events in the memory of Professor Wilhelm Gutenberg. The associates discover he has been keeping a secret, the murder of his son Spencer. In fact, Professor Gutenberg says one thing that has been difficult to forget was the death of his firstborn child, in this case Spencer, whose life was taken by a Russian Brotherhood assassin called Amadeus Tuba back in the year 2000. Now, if you remember, this resulted in a court case. Amadeus Kuba was then sentenced to 8 years in prison in Kiev. Kiev is the capital city of Ukraine, for those who are not aware. But Professor Wilhelm is not happy with his verdict. He believes Amadeus should be on death row. He's then into something, a revenge mission. In fact, he changes the PIN to his debit card to read 2008, the year Kiev plans to set Amadeus free. Welcome to my channel. My name is Victor, the author of an ongoing series going by the title The File Soldier. Now, talking about justice systems, the story I'm about to tell you may sound like some kind of creation of my own. It's not. Well, if you've, read one of these books, Survive, and Tortured Confinement, you will confirm this is not blowing trumpets or something. When it comes to a man called Jonathan Lee Riches, and with this I have to tread carefully lest I get sued, the court will appear to be like a common room of some sort. A convicted fraudster known for many lawsuits, Jonathan Lee, according to Wikipedia, who hails from Philadelphia, is known to have filed over 2,600 lawsuits in the federal district courts across the United States of America since January 8th, 2006. This may seem hilarious, but 2,600 lawsuits is a lot. The impression is that you could have had a small talk with this man, call him a few names, in jest, and the next thing you receive was a call from his attorney. For lack of a better word, they call him the most litigant in the world. Talk of our very own Okia Omutata, in jest that is. Anyways, Jonathan Lee is the man who even sued the Guinness World Record for giving him an award. There are many weird people you may have heard about, alright, but Jonathan Lee Riches' story may even sound a little sociopathic. Tell you what, this man had filed the first lawsuit against his mother as well. In the lawsuit, he said his mother has not taken care of him well.
What?
He won this case and got a compensation of $20,000. After winning this case, he then went ahead to file a case against his friend Maestro. Then his neighbor filed a case against his relatives, his fiancée, police officer, and a judge. Then he went after famous companies as well as the former president of the United States, George Bush. More than 2,600 lawsuits, I reiterate, not forgetting the lawsuit against the Guinness World Record, complaining his life had been recorded in the World Record book without his permission. He has won close to $8 million in damages and compensation in the cases so far. Then there was this TV station that had an interview with him. Now, in this interview, he was asked what would be the reason that even after so much fame, he was living alone with no one to love him. At this, he just laughed, got up from the TV show and took off. And guess what? He later sued the TV channel for his dishonor, after which he received compensation of $50,000. Even the famous pop star Britney Spears could not escape his category of accused. Talk of brutal realities of justice systems you've never heard of. Anyways, I'll proceed. In the meantime, let's see what Professor Gutenberg does when the year 2028 arrives. Principles won't save lives, sir, I said, grinding a straying spider under the heel of my shoe. Not even your God. Limits of trust shall not be exploited. To scare off potential rebels, I'm told, tappet tyrants in Kudus have procured piranhas from Brazil to be used as execution agents. Professor Wilhelm turned and locked eyes with mine. Upstairs, John, he said. I'll be with you in a minute. Waving at Wilhelm's genitor, Jake Daniels linked his arm with mine and undertook to walk me upstairs with a cynical stroke of lecturing me in a whisper. We have a tight window, he said, and I don't think anyone wants to get stuck in here. That has already been subject to belaboring conferences in Afghanistan. I assume you are aware of that, Mr. Taylor. Absolutely, sir, I nodded. It's simply a matter of mental endurance. Math isn't just a cup of tea, he went on. I dropped out at 7th grade. Captain James Blunt can attest to that. But my unit is family, and we take care of one another. I see. Anyhow, I should reiterate Mr. Green's exclusive communication with regard to Mission G.Prof, as you'll appreciate, John, that the Harley-Davidson files business is left to be transacted within a sphere of convenience defined by yourself and Mr. Wilhelm, Mr. Dawson Miles, whom you shall address as Bolt 77, Captain James Blunt, Officer 001X, VF2X, Officer 00X, and Mr. Bench, for whom you can retain the off-record name the S-Man, shall all follow the instructions to be received from Senior Private Clifford first thing in the morning. Trickier business than I had expected, Mr. Daniels. Indeed, replied Jake. Trust me, Mr. Taylor, we are part of a giant network of specialized subcontractors. I now wish to live with my men at the convenience of our mutual consent. Don't poke sticks in issues relating to government regimes, especially the Americans and Russians. In this digital age, everyone is under surveillance. You could sell us out. You are leaving Stifles me, I said. But you revealed much about your masters already. You are an honest man, Mr. Daniels, and I give you my word. Professor Wilhelm held the door open and watched them vanish. Run of luck or not, I determined I would stick up to Jake. Without backup, an ecosystem at the peril of extinction would never have gratified the darling wishes of survival. I took up the staircase, bearing my solemnity every step, and went into a well-lit room on the first floor. The room was spacious. Illumination was sufficient, I noted. The library of books, furniture, evidence dryer cabinet, down-floor workstation, the fuming chamber, evidence bench, the nuclear magnetic resonance system networked by a complex host-to-host communication system for each workstation in the room startled me. But as it was, I feigned passivity. Yet, by any means, I cannot disqualify the bewilderment I suffered from the discovery of a complex flow-controlled bidirectional communication links interwoven into the respective workstation CPUs through a mind-boggling network control program. So that marks the end of episode number 47. Up until the next one, Goodbye.